Java Tarimanashvili, Trans-Logistic Director. Please take the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and industry colleagues, welcome to Batumi. My name is Java Tarimanashvili. I'm a director of Trans-Logistic LLC. It is an honor to stand before you today at the Arms Conference. We gather here at the time of unprecedented global volatility. Today we are not just talking about alternative shipping routes. We are talking about the survival and resilience of the global supply chains. My presentation today is titled Middle Corridor Nexus, and over the next few minutes we will explore exactly why Georgian infrastructure has become critical linchpin connecting East and West. I have listed here one of the main infrastructure players in Georgia who are playing a vital role for the Middle Corridor success. Let us address the reality we operate in today. In early 2026, the global logistics sector faced what we can only describe as a dual blockade. It's completely new phenomenon when at one side Iran has blocked Hormuz Strait and on another side US has blocked the ports, and the world has never seen such a phenomenon which we see today. With the Red Sea paralyzed and Persian Gulf facing severe disruptions, the traditional arteries of the global trade have been detrimental. This is not temporary disruption. This is a structural shift. The global logistics catalyst of 2026 has fundamentally redefined how we must think about cargo movement between Asia and Europe. To understand the scale of the shock, I would like to show you how the fuel markets react. Here we see the February 28th, before the escalation has started, and then we see how it has triggered the severe price shock. Marine gasoil, marine gasoil prices in Istanbul broke from it was actually $800 range, and in May we have already seen the double. It was up to $160. And when all of us know that marine fuel consists more than 50% of expenses for shipping operators, and consequently such a dramatic increase is transferred further to the shipping cost and at a later stage to end users. To understand on the map here, this brings us to the strategic necessity of the Middle Corridor. Looking at the map of Eurasia today, the Red Sea, you see, is paralyzed. Persian Gulf under dual blockade, active conflict zones surrounded. Traditional southern route and northern route is under sanctions. The Middle Corridor is not just an alternative. It seems, with this picture, to be the only viable active overland maritime hybrid route connecting Asian manufacturing to European markets. It is an absolute resilience imperative. We are seeing freight volume surge. Container transit has alone jumped probably 260%, and we are projecting over 7 million tons of cargo by the end of 2026. Demand is here, and the question I would like to kindly ask a question to the participants. Are we ready for this? Because I remember 2022 when sanctions against Russia has been imposed, and before 2022 Middle Corridor was just an alternative. It was more expensive than the northern route, it was longer transit time than northern route, but in 2022 we have seen that cargo capacity for the Middle Corridor has increased to its maximum capacity. It was probably up to 5 million tons. And then, as a result, we have seen that the rail stations has been paralyzed, the shippers, the stakeholders could not take off the rail cars from the stations in Georgia, especially. Then the damages have been charged to the shippers. And in 2023, we have seen that if in 2022 northern route has lost around like 40% of the volumes, in 2023, when there was no actual alternatives to the northern route, the volumes have rebounded. They returned back to northern route in spite of the sanctions, because there was no other efficient alternatives to the route. The answer is right here, actually. We are looking into the main ports of Georgia, which are currently handling dry cargoes. It's the Batumi seaport. Let's say, if we talk about figures, just rough figures, Batumi port actually is performing quite well. It's almost overperforming its operational capacities. And every time it shows some record results. But the volume which we can handle here is plus minus, like, let's say 2 million tons. And it was, as rightly mentioned by the participant in the question, Batumi's port is in the city center. Actually, there is no room for significant expansion of storage capacities or like berths, or actually the port is in the city center, and we see it's very limited to expand significantly. Then comes Poti Seaport. Poti Seaport is main hub, let's say, for dry cargoes for Georgia, and it handles around, let's say, 7-8 million tons. And it's also, Poti Port is also exceeding its operational capabilities. And it's actually working on the limits. So there is, without additional infrastructure, without significant expansion of infrastructure, it's very difficult to talk about accepting some extraordinary volumes, in spite that there is a disruption in the south and there is a sanction in the north. And third one, we have here the Anaklia project. Of course, this is a strategic breakthrough, active construction started, and we hear this, maybe first we heard about it in 2010. Then Anaklia Development Consortium was formed in 2016. And some works like now have commenced in maybe 16 or 17, but in 2020, this was stopped. Now it's already 2026, so already 16 years have passed, and we are now talking again about starting construction works for Anaklia. Of course, Anaklia is vital, because actually Georgia don't have enough space in the port to handle large, let's say, Panamax volumes of the dry bulk cargoes, to accumulate them, to transship them to the vessels. We have no enough space. Both Poti and Batumi is in the city center. Poti port wants expansion, but also it's somehow not expanding. I don't know, maybe some permissions or whatever. So this is the picture of our infrastructure for the dry bulk cargoes and our potential to expand further. This is hard truth, maybe, but I would like also participants to, maybe Karina can give the microphone if at the end of my presentation somebody can say, are we ready to handle the significant increased volumes? My answer with the current evaluation, probably not. Maybe there are some other ideas, or there are ideas. What other bottlenecks do we have? I will mention few, but would like to hear from the professionals, because I see so many professionals from the industry here in the room. And I will mention few of them. First of all, when we talk about bottlenecks, specifically, I have not listed all of them, because perhaps last 10 years I'm talking only about this, and we are talking over and over about same bottlenecks. Actually, we are working on this cycle every year and speaking the same things almost every year. The first one is a so-called multimodal friction. What's the multimodal? All of the people actually know, and doesn't need additional specification, but we know that there is a two C's. Sea, rail, sea, and when it comes to the sea, the main problem is predictability. So we have weather delays, we have sometimes lately it's so much talks about diminishing drafts in Caspian Sea, and of course sea freight is much higher than the land transportation, and then it's much slower than completely all the way land transportation. The second, which we face today, I have mentioned in Istanbul, it was $800 in 28th of February, and in May we have seen double the gas oil problem. And consequently, this leads to the cost push inflation, because when production costs rise, then the participants are forced to increase prices. And third one is the customs bureaucracy. Despite Astana 2026 roadmap, physical border checks and all these customs related issues, then in the past I was also talking about interoperability problems. Except the customs issues, there are interoperability problems for the SIM consignment node with SMGS consignment node, because our region is covered by OSGD convention, and China and Europe is covered by OTIF, which is completely different legislation for international carriage of goods, and this also creates another difficulties for crossing borders with transport documents. And lastly, it's probably escalated lately more significantly when it comes to the insurance unpredictability, because insurance companies are now providing like 24 hours time for insuring the vessel or cargo, especially for the Black Sea, due to risk profile. And in conclusion, I would like to say that Middle Corridor is experiencing, let's say, from outsider, the renaissance born out of global necessity. It is. When we look to the south and north, it's a renaissance. And Georgia is, of course, the essential nexus for this corridor. Infrastructure is expanding at the moment, I would say, verbally on the words, but actual expansion of the infrastructure, I personally don't see. So Thank you very much. Sorry for this conclusion. It was the last one, but I tried my best to describe as it is. So no fancy words or nothing mentioning extraordinary. But I would like the participants to speak few words, because I'm sure that most of I could talk about too many jokes, because when I was talking about unpredictability, I remember that New Year 3 was coming by the Middle Corridor, and it did not arrive before New Year because of unpredictability. This is the reality. Sorry, it's maybe hard truth. It's not everybody likes to speak about, but it's the reality. There are many other jokes. I would not like to bother you with that. Maybe we can further, when we drink few cocktails on after party, we can continue talking about these issues. And now I would kindly ask your comments about your opinion. Where is the real bottleneck? With the standard approach, this corridor will not work. This needs creative people. We have been in 2017 talking about blockchain. How to transfer the modern logistics into the blockchain so there is no human factor. Because sometimes I call to people who do not reply for several months to receive the rates. Of course, it's not good. At the same time, I have applications for booking taxi, for booking hotel, for booking food delivery, and it is done in seconds. We are modern era people. We need applications that will work same way as we book. Hotels on Airbnb or Booking.com or Expedia, or asking Glovo or Bolt for food delivery, or Bolt for taxi, or Uber. We are booking an application, taxi comes in seconds. So same we need in railway, same we need in the port, same we need in this middle corridor to make this efficient. But at the same time, we need innovative, creative ideas of how we can expand this infrastructure. Because with current infrastructure, it's just words that we are expanding, we can do something. We cannot do extraordinary. We have proved that we can do in 2022, when everything was blocked, with the 5 million tons. And some people have been announcing that Middle Corridor will attract whole south and north volumes. Of course, it's a big joke. It's impossible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Java. Any question from the audience, or maybe someone has anything to add?
Позволите задам еще один вопрос. Вот все презентации, которые были по поводу серединного коридора, они, знаете, меня чем удивили? Я вижу общее падение погрузки. Они все время падают. А как вернуть груз? Вот мы все говорим о развитии портов, инфраструктуры, а грузы падают. Что возить-то будем? Вот как их вернуть? Как хотя бы дойти до того уровня, с которого началось падение? Это первый вопрос. Второе, мой личный комментарий. Было бы неплохо, если бы здесь были представители грузинской железной дороги. Потому что пропускная способность определяется самым узким местом. Самое узкое место – Сурамский коридор. Вот если бы мы посмотрели с вами приказ по железной дороге, по скорости движения, по массе поезда, нам бы сразу стало понятно, сколько груза может проехать с востока на запад, с запада на восток. Это вот мой личный комментарий.
Спасибо большое, очень хороший комментарий.
Был задан вопрос по поводу того, как вернуть груз. Есть ли у вас мнение по этому поводу?
Я бы ответил это очень кратко. Чтобы вернуть груз, я по своему опыту. У меня были много приключений, и где у меня были проблемы, где у меня нет доверия, я там больше не хочу участвовать в перевозках. Чтобы вернуть груз, у нужно создать доверие, что реально, где вы отправляете груз, там вас обслужат на высшем уровне. Вот. Думаю, это краткий такой вопрос.
Спасибо. Есть ли еще вопросы из зала?
Если уместно, Джаба, еще раз добрый день. Вы отметили тему анаклии. Такой животрепещущий вопрос, который мы с вами обсуждаем уже действительно лет 10, если не больше. Я увидел у вас, вы вроде как верите, да, в то, что анаклия может иметь право на существование. Вот. На ваш прогноз, насколько, вот, если сравнивать, убирая политику и экономику, то есть посчитать деньги, сколько стоит вложить в Батуми и в Поте, апгрейд и экспандинг, и, соответственно, сколько будет стоить анаклия, насколько на данный момент эти сравнения в чью пользу?
Батуми порт мы видим. Прямо дорога центральная проходит и рядом порт. Там таких экстраординарных каких-то увеличений складских мощностей, там, наверное, на ярусах или что-то новое должны придумать инноваторы, чтобы там груз складировать. С другой стороны, прямо в центре порта, туристический город. Я думаю, этот вопрос исчерпан, что Батуми дальше будет как-то развиваться. Балтийский порт то же самое. В Балтийском порту, когда перегружают оксид алюминия, там рядом в домах люди задыхаются. Тоже в центре города, и такие грузы обрабатываются, что это влияет на здоровье людей. При этом анаклия – это совсем новый ареал, там никто не живет, там земли очень много. Там реально можно развивать складские помещения такие, где мы бы привезли Панамакс, для Панамаксов грузы по 60 тысяч, по 80 тысяч тонн, накапливали навалочные грузы, генеральные грузы, не знаю, там все, что хочешь, можно сделать с нуля, начиная и построить так, чтобы реально это было ориентировано на обработку больших объемов. Я думаю, что вот и я еще не добавил, что все забыли про декарбонизацию. Вот сегодня все говорят, вот до этого, пока эта война началась в Иране, все говорили о проблеме декарбонизации, потому что реально декарбонизация вообще меняет всю конъюнктуру морской перевозки. Снижение парниковых газов обязывает судовладельцев отказываться от традиционных топлив. Если вот сейчас на Marine Environment Protection Committee, который последняя встреча была в Лондоне, из-за влияния Трампа это было переложено на год. Иначе приняли бы проект, то есть степ-бай-степ schedule, который обязал судовладельцев отказываться от традиционных топлив. То есть они больше не смогут набивать fossil fuels, ископаемые топлива. Они должны перейти на метанол, на водород, на аммония и так далее. Даже LNG тоже не проходит в GHG Net Zero 2050. Соответственно, вот это еще, то, что мы сегодня обсуждаем, это один из проблем. Но в будущем судоходство столкнется с таким увеличением операционных затрат, которые обязуют всех перейти по ЖД. Потому что ЖД, если электрификация ЖД произойдет и снабжение этих ЖД-линий чистой энергетикой, это может быть возобновляемая энергетика, или это может быть nuclear energy, ядерная энергетика, тогда это будет net zero, и это будет поощряться вот этим требованиям, которые учитывают декарбонизацию морской среды. Соответственно, обязательно добавляются новые мощности, но новые мощности это еще не все. Главное, это вот эти страны, которые участники, например, Казахстан, Caspian, Азербайджан, Грузия, Турция и так далее, чтобы не на низком уровне, там, начальник ЖД или там, и так далее, обсуждали эти вопросы, а чтобы эти вопросы обсуждали на самом высшем уровне, потому что от этого зависит жизнь всех этих стран. И если эти страны эффективны, соответственно, такое достояние будет создаваться, которое для всех будет хватать.
Спасибо. Спасибо.
Thank you. So that's all for today. We really enjoyed meeting you all, and we would like